Hey y'all, welcome to the first episode of the Undefeated Mind podcast with Coach Wendell. And this podcast is something that I would say is a passion project or something that I wanted to start doing a couple years ago. I had initially started the podcast, and it was actually during the time we shut down. But I felt like one, I didn't have any confidence, but I also felt like I really didn't have much experience to talk about as far as like fitness. I kind of was like still getting into it. I didn't really have a lot of like client experience and just experience in general with life. I feel like I was just still starting off, and not that I know everything now, but I feel like I have a lot to offer, especially things outside of the gym. And I think I kind of have found like my lane that I want to be in, and that I feel like I'm starting to thrive in. So I feel like what better time, also with the encouragement of clients and my wife, because I was gonna wait to do this after the marathon, but they were like, you should start it now. You share your journey about that, like getting back into that as well, and just having a lot to offer people outside of just the gym. And I have a lot of different thoughts about different things, not just the gym itself, but like life in general. I'm a husband. I'm a dad. I'm a coach, and even just my own spiritual journey, right? I think I'm starting to find my relationship with God. I think I have been kind of in and out of that. I've struggled with that at times, just because I'm somebody that I analyze a lot of things, and I think I try to make sense of a lot of things. And I think certain things, what I'm learning in life is like they don't really have an answer per se. You know what I'm saying? It just is. Or you really don't get the answer until you kind of go through and experience certain things in life, and then certain things make sense. I think, and then also is just realizing that you're dealing with humans, right? And when you're dealing with humans, it's a lot of complexity that comes with that, right? Even with yourself. So, again, this is the second time doing this podcast, but I think it's really the first time because I feel like I have a lot to offer, I guess, in this space, and just sharing my voice and finding my voice, coming into my 30s. So let's get started. So, like I said, I am a coach. That's what most people know me for, as far as like personal training, different stuff like that. Majority of the content that I put up online is fitness related. I sprinkle in there things about my family and stuff like that because I feel like, that's part of it. I think that that's something that we tend to do a lot of when it comes to fitness, is that we try to compartmentalize it. As something that I see a lot, where it's something that we do Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday. Maybe we do a little bit on Saturday, but then it's not really congruent with our lives. And I think that what the fitness industry has done, it's a good and a bad thing, is that one, obviously is something that we see on social media a lot, right? That's a popular thing, right? To be doing something fitness related. But I think that what you see a lot of people do is they fall into this trap of either falling into like a fad or a trend at the time, or they're just doing things that maybe you're at a level 2, but what you're looking at is like a level 8, and so you're not even at that level 8, but you're trying to make that fit into what you have going on. And I think that what I aim to do with my clients and even with myself is like meet that person where they are. So it's like, it's not that you can't be at a level 8, but it's like, okay, well, we got to get to level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 before you get to 8. And it's just understanding like where that person is on that journey. So I think that you know fitness is one of those things that you can't really separate. It's not like a typical 9 to 5 where it's like I go to my job and then I do this over here. And obviously, you have to be able, as a person that has a business, like to shut that part down, right? And understand that you have a family. And again, like that's something that I'm even learning right now, being a young person in business, right? Entrepreneur. Because I think most people could attest to this, right? If you went to school and got a degree in exercise science like I did, or anything like that, or you went to college and then you have a business, oftentimes you don't learn business in school, right? It's like it's a lot of real world experiences that you have to have and different things you have to learn, and they don't it's kind of hard to replicate in the school system, because it's like certain things you have to experience, and one of those main things is just experiencing people, right? And what comes with that. And that's not easy, especially depending on the industry you're in. And the industry we're in is like a service-based industry, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. So going back to what I originally said is like, majority of the stuff that people see online is me posting fitness content and sprinkling in their stuff with my family and stuff like that, because I really don't feel like they're separate in the sense of like that's going to affect one or affect the other. So outside of that, I would say, you know, the season of life that I'm in is, I would say I'm rebuilding in the sense of that I'm finally on my own as far as like building my business and finding my voice as far as like what my business stands for and what my messaging is. But I would say more so I'm just in the beginning of the stages of just finding myself and who I am as a person, right? I think that I have spent years like in other places or under people where I wasn't able to really show my true authentic self. And I think I still was trying to find that. You know, that's not saying anything against anybody. It's just more so that I think it's that old cliche adage of like guys mature later than women, right? And it's like, I feel like in your 30s is where you really start like finding that stride. At least that's what I feel like for myself. And you start maturing and things start kind of slowing down and making more sense. I've made mistakes just like anybody else. I think I'm going to continue to make mistakes. I think that's what comes with business and just life in general. But I think that in this season of my life, I'm starting to find who I am as a person, what fits right for me, what I don't like, and being comfortable with that, right? Because I think that that's something that's really hard for a lot of people, is that I think that we, in general, know what we like and what we don't like, but we tend to conform because we want to fit into the group or whatever the case may be. And then what ends up happening is you end up not happy, or you end up just not knowing who you are. Like in the long run, you kind of lose yourself in the crowd. And I think that as I've gotten older, I have refined that more and more, where I just realize there's certain things about me that's just who I am, and I'm comfortable with that, and I'm comfortable with not being for everybody. And I think that when you kind of start getting to that place, that's when you start finding your lane and your wave and what works for you. But I would say that that's like the season of life that I'm in. And I just want to share that journey, like of me, you know, we have a fitness space inside of the Burning Bush Church, and you know, it's a nice space, and it's a space for us to start. And I think that I want to share this journey because of building from here to like the vision that I have in my head and where I see it can be. I want to share that because I think a lot of times we share our wins. I'm not saying that I'm losing, but we tend to share like the finish line, or like when we get the trophy or we get the big win. And a lot of times we miss sharing the journey, and I feel like that's what inspires a lot of people. So I think this is just another avenue to kind of share my growth and the people that are on the journey with me along the way. I think that this is a great platform to do that. What you could expect from this show is fitness topics. I definitely want to riff on nutrition a lot. I feel like that's something that is a passion of mine that I don't get to share a whole lot of. And not nutrition from a standpoint, because I think that when people think of nutrition a lot now is they kind of fall prey to the cliche of like calories and macros and don't eat this food, don't eat that food. And you know, that stuff is important. And obviously that encompasses a big piece of what nutrition is, but I think it's a lot bigger than that when you start unfolding it and you realize that a lot of this stuff is really psychological, and it's a lot of stuff that goes into that. Because how many times have you followed a diet plan or a program and you get the results, right? You lose the 20 pounds, the 15 pounds, 25 pounds, or you're seeing the results, you're feeling better, and then you gain it back, right? And so what I've started to realize as time has gone on in my career is that a lot of this is psychological. And I feel like, you know, in the beginning, what I like to do with a lot of clients is I like to do more habit-based things, because what I feel like is if you can lock in on doing certain behaviors, it almost makes the macros and the calories and stuff like that, it makes it that much easier. Because like, for instance, if you track your food, right? that's something that seems very simple, right? We're not counting calories, nothing. Just track your food. Here's MyFitnessPal. Put your food in MyFitnessPal. I want you to do that every day for 2 weeks. How many people could stick to doing that for 2 weeks? They'll do it for 4 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday come. They fall off the wagon because they're off work or they're going out with their friends. And now you don't want to own up to what you were consuming, right? Because in your mind, that's bad, right? I went out, I drank, I ate whatever, it's bad, right? So it's exposing right there like a behavior of yours, right? So you're naturally guilting yourself of something that you're doing, a behavior, and so much so that you don't even want to show that you're doing it, right? You don't want to see it. That's what people do with the scale, right? So then what we do with the scale, then we don't track our food. So then we want to get on the scale. So then we get on the scale. The scale's not what we want to see. So then we don't get on the scale again for another period of time. So now you have an inconsistency with how you're tracking your weight. So that's going to play into your mind psychologically because there's no system there. Then the thing that affects the scale, you're not even aware of your patterns because you've been following those so much that you don't even realize that you're sabotaging yourself, because the scale just becomes information if you're tracking the stuff the right way and you know where you need to adjust. And so what I realized is that I used to be that person that would give somebody a gigantic packet of whatever the meal plan that they needed, and I would break down macros, and I would go into I would have detail like what the supplements are and meal timing and all this other stuff, and then they wouldn't do it, right? And then what I realized was like, okay, for most people, that's not a good place to start because they don't even have the mindset of like what goes into getting results, right? So it's like, it's not just about you following the plan blindly. It's about you following that plan and then being able to sustain that. And I think that as a coach, at least how I think about it is like, I want to coach myself out of a job. Like, you're here for the accountability piece and because you like the community, right? And you enjoy working out. I want to get to a place where it's like that, where you're in tune enough where you understand the nuances and things that you need to do as far as that's concerned. And I think that, not to riff real bad on nutrition, but I think that that's for most people, that's a place where most people need to start, is just simply tracking your food, right? Some form of tracking, whether you write it down, you take pictures, and it just builds awareness, right? And I believe awareness precedes change, right? Because if I'm not even aware of what I'm doing, how can I change what I'm doing? And you get the cliche responses. Oh, I eat pretty well. I don't eat bad. I cut this out. And then when you start getting people to track and you start looking at things, you're like, hey, it's not just about you eating bad or not eating bad, because that's really subjective. It's more so of what are your patterns, right? Because you could eat very well Monday through Wednesday, but then Thursday you skip meals. Friday you skip meals. Then you go out, and it kind of turns into this cycle where it's like you don't even realize that, yeah, you do eat pretty well on most days, but 2 days out of the week, this is throwing everything off because it's no structure here. And I think that that's really the missing piece when it comes to nutrition things. So for me, that's something that I want to do with this podcast, is I want to go more deep into more like the nutrition things and fitness stuff, but more so the mindset behind those things, because I feel like a lot of times that stuff is what is not talked about enough, and it's not understood. And I think that if most people can get past past the mental blocks in those ways, right, and they understand that a lot of this is more so just like your habits and like learning how to piece those things together, you will get a lot further than trying to do that overhaul approach that you've constantly tried, right? And it just leads to yo-yo dieting. And another way that I try to get people to think about this is like, for instance, let's say like everybody has a New Year's resolution. This is another perspective. And let's say your goal is, I don't know, let's say your goal is you want to lose 20 to 30 pounds. And most of the time, the 20 to 30 pounds you want to lose is super duper fast, but you don't cook, you don't do any of those things at home. You kind of eat fast food. You work, you have kids. So your schedule obviously is busy with having children and another mouth to feed, and you have to work. And maybe you're single, or maybe you have a little bit of help, but it's not consistent. So think about it like this. If you approach it from this standpoint, where instead of trying to do it fast, you were like, hey, okay, I'm going to make one habit change per month, right? And it could be something as simple in the beginning as I'm going to commit to having 30 grams of protein a day. And I'm going to commit to that goal that month every day. And then outside of working out, like let's say that you decide that you're going to go to the gym, you got your membership, or you sign up for a coach. So I'm just talking about the nutrition side of things. That's all we're going to focus on for that month. Then the following month, we add another goal. And this is a form of habit stacking. So now we got that goal kind of in place. Now we're going to add to that goal. Okay, well now I'm going to make sure that I have my lunch prepped, or I have a plan of what I'm going to do for lunch the following month every day. So now for a month, we commit to doing that. And it doesn't mean you're going to be perfect every day, but that is the goal, to do that. Then the following month, okay, I'm going to make sure that every day when I wake up, I'm going to have 30 ounces of water and some type of electrolyte or a pinch of salt in there or whatever. Now that's 3 habits, right? Then the 4th month, I'm going to commit to doing, outside of my, let's say you were training 3 times a week, I'm going to commit to going for a walk for 20 to 30 minutes every day. And you do that for a month. Now we have 4 habits. Now you see where I'm going with this. By time the next year, after adding all those habits, you will not look the same. You will not be the same person. You will be completely different, right? And I think that if we started approaching stuff from long term, and you realize that health and fitness is an investment, right? And typically when you invest in something, you don't get a return back right away. And what people want to do is they want to exchange. So it's like, I paid this money, so I should get this result right now. And then when you peel it back, you're like, okay, but you also have been doing these same habits and behaviors for the last 10 years, but you want everything to change in 4 weeks. So instead of, I'm investing in this, and I'm going to think of this in terms of 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, what this is going to look like. And that way, for the rest of my life, I have these habits and stuff in place where this is who I am now. Now you're not spinning your wheels for another 10 years. Because think about it, a lot of you probably been doing a lot of this stuff for the last decade, 2 decades, right? And obviously life changes, right? Because we have kids, we have a business, we have work, and different things like that. But my point is that certain things you just have in place and you understand. So it's like you have that mindset, right? You're already kind of in this mindset, and it fits your lifestyle, versus doing things where it's like, it's that overhaul approach. You got to follow this diet to the T. You're cutting all these calories. Then you're over here, you're working out 5-6 times a week. And I'm not saying that people don't get results from that, because some people that works, right? They jump right in and something happens and they commit and they make that change. But the majority of people, that's why they're struggling, because a lot of times, like I've said in the beginning, you're at level 2, but you're trying to jump into a level 8, and you haven't gotten those other levels yet, right? And so for me, that's where I kind of sit at. That's my approach. That's the lane that I'm in, is that it's more of a lifestyle. And I could even speak from this from a standpoint of running a marathon. My first marathon, I didn't have the understanding of what it meant to prep for a marathon. I just jumped into it, which is my personality. And I'm gonna figure it out as I go. And so when I would go out for my runs, I tried to run every run hard, because I believe that if I pushed hard, I would get better. And I was getting better, but what comes with that is you increase your chances of getting injured, because one, think about it from a standpoint of lifting weights. If I came into the gym every day and I was lifting to my max, to failure, or to 1 rep max, right? And I did that lift every day and I pushed it like that, eventually I would get hurt because I'm not recovering. And so then I learned about what it meant to do easy runs and sprints and tempo and recovery and mobility and strength training that goes along with that, and why diet and nutrition is important. And so now coming around to the 3rd one, I understand what easy runs are. I understand how to recover. I understand the importance of a diet. And not that I have all the information perfect, but it's definitely way better than it was the first time. I can say with 110% that the way I feel now compared to what I felt when the first one I did is not even a comparison. And that's the same way that you should approach your fitness, is that it's understanding that this is a marathon. It's not a race, and that it's a lot of components that go into you getting results. It's not just a diet and you just working out, right? It's your environment, right? That's another thing. Like, it's your environment. It's what you're bringing into your environment. It's understanding where you currently are, right? It's being realistic with yourself, right? And understanding that, hey, I might not get the results that I'm looking for in 3 months. I might not get the results that I'm looking for in 30 days. This is gonna take a year of investing. It's gonna take 2 years of investing into myself, right? And realizing that this is for a long term. This isn't for some temporary thing. It's nothing wrong with having a goal for your birthday. It's nothing wrong with having a goal for a vacation, but it's understanding that I don't want to do something that's gonna maybe pull me 2 steps forward, but then pull me 5 steps back because I just go right back to whatever I was doing before that, because one, I didn't even understand what I was doing. And then I'm just kind of just falling back into, whenever life happens, I just kind of fall back into whatever those patterns were that I was doing. So it's just understanding that, like, it's a lifestyle is different from planning for an event. And I think you have to understand where you are on that spectrum, right? If you're training for an event, right, to get on stage or for a sport, obviously the training is going to be different because you have to be ready for at a specific time to get a specific result. That's going to be different. But most people, the people that I train, are training for life. And that's going to look different. And so the timeline and the time frame is different. It's going to call for different protocols and different things that go into that. And that's the stuff that we're going to dive into on this podcast, because I think that that's important. I think that a lot of people need to have that perspective. And I think that that perspective could change a lot of just how you're looking at your health and your fitness going forward. So my goal is to do 2 episodes a month right now. I think that as time goes on and how this rolls, I would definitely want to do more. Hopefully one a week. But for right now, that's my plan. And like I said, we're just going to talk about various things. I have a lot of stuff that I want to share, and I'm excited about it. So thank you. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to it. And we're just going to keep this ball rolling. Peace out.